the group of concerned voters that believed their voices were not being heard. They also believed that their issues, concerns, and questions were not being addressed within the many PACs, hosted forums, and debates. As a result, Voters East of the Industrial Canal was established in 2011. VEOTIC, Voters East of the Industrial Canal, is an organization by voters and for voters that provides an open forum where candidates can holistically engage voters, our citizens who are the true decision makers on election day. All candidates seeking office were invited to participate in tonight's forum. Tonight's questions were solicited and submitted from voters who reside east of the Industrial Canal. The rules of tonight's forums were previously submitted to each candidate and applied throughout the evening. Now I would like to introduce Brandon Gilmore with You Gonna Feel Me Now podcast. Brandon will take over.
Thank you, Ms. Dawn. Welcome to the second evening of our 2021 series of Voters East of the Industrial Canal Municipal Candidates Forum, being brought to you tonight by the Box Studios, which is located in New Orleans East. Tonight, we'll be talking with the candidates vying for the office of Clerk of Orleans Parish Criminal District Court. At this time, I would like to introduce my co-host for this evening forum, Kimberly LaVon Burbank, resident of District E.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you all. And we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to begin this evening's discussion by introducing to you in alphabetical order the candidates seeking the position of Clerk of Orleans Parish Criminal District Court, starting with Mr. Austin Badon.
Good evening, everyone. I am Austin Badon. I am number 8 on the ballot. I am seeking the office of Clerk of Criminal District Court and Chief Elections Officer. I am a voter east of the Industrial Canal, my wife and I. In fact, we just fixed up a home and invested again in New Orleans East just a year ago, and we moved into that home. We are raising our son in New Orleans East, and also he is attending a public school in New Orleans East, Lake Forest Charter. My wife and I, we have been happily married for 26 years, enjoyed the most of our life has been in New Orleans East. And we also worship at St. Peter Claver as well as St. Maria Goretti.
Thank you, Mr. Badon. Ms. Patrice Boyd Robertson.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Hello, I am Dr. Patricia Boyd Robertson, and I am also seeking the office of Clerk for Criminal District Court. I am a native New Orleanian, born and raised in New Orleans, have lived in New Orleans East for basically all of my life. I don't think I've lived anywhere else but in New Orleans East. I am the mother of 4 children. I have 9 grandchildren, all reside in the New Orleans East area. I am seeking the office of Clerk of Criminal District Court because I know that there has to be a difference made there. And so the experience and the education that I bring to that office will be beneficial to make sure that that office is run effectively.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. And next we have Mr. Darren Lombard. You're on mute, Mr. Lombard.
Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. This is Darren Lombard, and I want to first thank you for allowing us and inviting us into your forum to express ourselves and what we bring to the table as we basically apply for this job. Again, my name is Darren Lombard. I'm a father of 5, a grandfather of 3, one of which just came about a week and a half ago. I also am the clerk of Second City Court. I've been there for 8 years. I used to be the deputy clerk over at Criminal District Court, where I worked in the elections division mainly for 6 years. My plans will be to update the office, get it into the 21st century, to improve all the issues that are there currently and those that we anticipate in the future, particularly with the election process. So I look forward to discussing my ideas and the upcoming challenges of the office and how we plan on doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Lombard, and congratulations on the birth of your grandchild.
Thank you.
Our next set of questions is going to be each candidate would have 2 minutes. We're going to start with Mr. Austin Badon, and the question is, can you please define the roles and responsibilities of the clerk of Orleans Parish Criminal District Court and how your current job, roles, or positions prepare you for the position of the clerk of Criminal District Court?
Right. Thank you, Brandon. So that office as clerk of criminal district court has a $4.8 million budget. And so that position as the clerk, you know, I would be the buck would stop with me. So there's about 90 positions there that I would have to supervise. That position basically works with all of the judges and make sure that their dockets are fulfilled. And it also is the custodian of the records. And also as chief elections officer, I will make sure that our elections are free, up to date, accessible to the public, and also free of any type of infiltration by foreign or domestic hackers. That's something that I am very keenly aware of, cyber attacks. And I want to make sure that our elections are back into the neighborhoods. You know, in New Orleans, we got to go to Household of Faith Church, or we have to go over to the polling station at Gentilly. That shouldn't be. You know, we need to get back into the neighborhoods with our polling sites, and that is going to be a top priority of my platform. But I want to make sure that people who are seeking expungements realize that they have a voice over at Criminal District Court, because I'm going to put someone over there who is going to be task specific to help with expungements. And people who are also seeking new trials because they feel like they've been wronged, I'm going to have people there who are going to work to make sure that those files are accessible through new computer systems, hardware and software, as well as affordable, because I'm going to have a grant writer on board who is going to make sure that people have access to that. Specifically in New Orleans East, we're going to make sure that we possibly have a satellite location to make sure that people don't have to come down to Tulane and Broad. They could go there and do business, and also do a subscription service so people can sit at their home and utilize the files and be able to make copies. And one other thing that I'm going to make sure happens is a community service program that is effective to give judges an alternative to sending people to jail.
Thank you, Mr. Badon. Ms. Robinson?
Yes. Okay, so the clerk of criminal district court office has two major functions. That is the custodian of records and the chief elections officer. The clerk of criminal district court's mission is to support the criminal justice system as the keeper of records and evidence, and to maintain integrity, justice within the system. And also they are the custodian of elections and the polling sites. The clerk of criminal district court's objective is to provide premier court services, including administrative functions, pre-court and in-court division support, records processing, evidence management, and polling integrity. As the accounting supervisor for the clerk's office, I was exposed to all of these different tasks. I have the knowledge that I know what type of leadership is needed for this particular office. As a professor in public administration, I have prepared myself. I not only teach organizational behavior, administrative leadership, and many other subjects that prepares me for this position, but I've also prepared my students, and I have many, many students that work within the public sector, even at City Hall and some of the other offices, and they are very outstanding workers in that particular arena. So, and one of the main things is that we have to work with the Register of Voters and the Secretary of State to make sure that there's enough polling sites available on voting day. And so one of the biggest things is that you want to make sure that everybody is able to exercise their right to vote. And so that's what basically the Clerk of Criminal District Court's office is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson, I'm sorry. Mr. Lombard?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. Can you please define the roles and responsibilities of the clerk of Orleans Parish Criminal District Court, and how your current job or profession prepared you for the position of the clerk of Criminal District Court.
Okay, the primary role is to be the custodian of the record, where there's several issues that need to be addressed, one of which, of course, is the case management system, where as clerk of Second City Court, I've used my experience over there to help initiate the first electronic filing where we actually started digitizing the files. So, you know, that experience, along with working with programmers and IT companies and consultants to get that system up and running, that's an experience that I have beyond any of my opponents. The other part of it is the dealing with the public and how they feel about their interaction with the court system. First of all, I'm going to implement a help desk write-off where we're going to especially focus on problem areas that the general public has coming into the office. We're going to explain to them what needs to be explained and guide them through the entire process where needed. The one issue is the expungements. Right now, it's slow and expensive. My wife and several other judges were working on a partnership with other stakeholders to have those fees reduced or waived. Right now, we're still waiting on that. There's a little bit of a snafu with the state police, I believe, but we're gonna work hard on that to make sure the general public and those who are not able to afford it can afford it. And lastly, the clerk criminal district court's office is responsible for the election processes as chief election officer. I've done that for 6 years. I've been doing it for 15. If you add my experience for the board of election supervisors.
Thank you, Mr. Lombard, and thank you all for answering those questions. I'm about to turn it over to Ms. Kimberly.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon.
There are 2 minutes that are given to each of you to answer the next question. The question is, how will you make the clerk of criminal court's office more user-friendly? Can we please begin with Dr. Patricia?
Ooh. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do to make it more user-friendly, we have to update the technology system. We have to bring that office up to 21st century technology so that when people, as been stated, when they come into that office, they're able to, if they're looking for documents, if they're looking for a particular judge, they're able to go into the system and see the information that they need. So technology is definitely the very first thing that must be upgraded in order for that office to be user-friendly. Also, one of the biggest things that I'm an advocate of is training. We have to train our employees. And one of the things that I want to do is do what's called cross-training to make sure that everybody knows everything. Not everybody knows everything, but if somebody is out, somebody else can do their job. So if somebody comes to the office and they need an expungement and the person who handles expungement is not there, well, there is someone else that we can call to handle those expungements. So cross-training and communication, making sure that the communication between the judiciary and the clerk's office is very clear so that the judges can have all of the information that they need when they come to the clerk's office, and then the clerk's office is able to provide them that information. So being user-friendly definitely starts with the technology to upgrade the system and to make sure that everything can be run effectively and efficiently. Thank you.
Next question goes to Mr. Darren Lombard. The same question, sir. The question is, how can we make this particular office more user-friendly?
As I mentioned earlier, when I came into Second City Court, the first thing we had to do was to implement steps to get the computer system up and running. We did that, and then at the same time, we were working with the staff that dealt with the general public as a whole. So we made sure that we had a good relationship and made sure that all of the litigants that came into the office actually had everything explained to them in detail. So in Clerk of Criminal Court's office, we will address any issues that need to be addressed as far as the staff is concerned in their training. And we're going to implement that help desk immediately. Also, we're going to work on the implementation of the case management system. I'm the only clerk that's done it. I'm the only candidate that's in this race that has any experience at all with implementing a case management system from the ground up. I've always, since I got elected in 2012, I've been in contact constantly with IT gurus and guys and gals who work with tailoring our system to what we need. So that's the first step as far as the case management system is concerned. We're going to get that up and running pretty quick and get the staff trained where they need training, because they're hardworking staff. They've been there doing that work for a long time and they're underpaid. So we'll have to address that as well. But the staff needs to be taken care of and trained properly, again, wherever needed. And then we're going to implement that help desk.
Mr. Austin Badon, are you able to assist us in knowing your ideas for how to make that office more user-friendly?
I can, Kimberly. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let me tell you, leadership starts at the top and the buck stops with me. I will lead by example, as I've done at First City Court. One of the greatest compliments that I received here at First City Court is someone told me I took a caterpillar and turned it into a butterfly. You surround yourself with good people. I've learned that through my master's degree in human resources management. I preach, and I constantly preach, a style that is customer service friendly. We are a people first and people organization business. The other thing that I will do is I will make a subscription service available to anybody in the public, lawyers, whoever want to buy into the subscription service, which will be able to offset that $4.8 billion budget that we receive from the city. This is where people can buy into the subscription. They can look at all of the cases. They could actually generate funds for the office by copying those services, making copies of those services onto their own personal computer instead of having to come to Tulane and Broad. We also need to look at having some type of satellite office out in New Orleans East to make it friendly. But effective and best practices and, you know, doing what I've done here at First City Court, not only changing the environment, but also utilizing effective policies to make it smoother for the customers as they come in, to make it safer for the employees and for the people when they come in who are looking for service. But one of the main things is to educate the public on that office and the services and how we can help them with criminal justice reform, how we can help them with expungements. I am task specific, as I've done here within my office. I am going to make people ready and available and go out to the community to be able to offer those services to people who are in need of expungements, need of criminal justice reform, to have access to their files if affordable. Those are the things that I'm going to do.
Thank you all. I'm going to start with Mr. Larry Lombard, Mr. Darren Lombard, I'm sorry. Excuse me. 1 minute to answer the next question. In your current employment, what policies and or procedures have you implemented that would be beneficial in the office of the Clerk of Criminal District Court?
As I've said before, the first policy is the customer comes first. there's a reason why Chick-fil-A has more customers than just about anybody else that are happy with their service. So we focus on that first. We've always had since day one that I've taken office, and we always will. The other part of it is to make sure that we have every file that we touch, whether it's 20 years old or whether it's 2 days old. We make sure that every part of that file has been scanned into our system where we can retrieve it where necessary. So that's part of there's several other policies and procedures that we put in place, but that's the major two right off the bat, because you can't, if something happens, you cannot recreate the file if you don't have it digitized. So that's the challenge we had out of the gates, was just to get documents where we can recreate them if anything happens. So
Thank you. Can we please have the next question answered by Dr. Patricia Boyd?
The same question.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you need me to reread it?
Can you reread it? That would be fine.
Yes, ma'am. In your current employment, what policies and procedures have you implemented that would be beneficial in the office of the Clerk of Criminal District Court?
Okay, so in my current profession as a professor at Southern University, if you look at any of my signs or anything that's out there for my campaign, you will notice that it says people first, because I always believe that you have to have people first in order for you to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And in my profession, I make sure that my students are first. I make sure that they have the training, the teaching that they need to go out to be successful. And in the clerk's office, we have to make sure that we put people first by, first of all, upgrading that technology so that when they come into that office, they have what we call professionalism, and they have a system that's user-friendly. So I've always implemented that in whatever, even in my business, I make sure that my clients come first, because when the clients are happy, when the students are happy, when the employees are happy, then the morale of that office is up, and people are going to do whatever you need them to do. And you're going to find that that office is going to run smoothly, efficiently, and effectively.
Thank you. Mr. Austin Badon, in your current employment, what policies and procedures have you implemented that would be beneficial in the office of the Clerk of Criminal District Court?
I'll be very specific. The things that I've done here are very specific as far as task management. So I have come in and I have evaluated all of the contracts that we have right now in place. And for you, the public, I have given you better contracts. You are getting more for your money than you did before, such as we had a copying contract that was just excessive. It was it was top loaded. We were not utilizing all of the space. We decreased that overload to the public, and we have a better service. We are now keeping files here on site instead of utilizing an off-site storage facility, which saves the public money. Those are the things that I'm going to go in and you look at and evaluate as the Clerk of Criminal District Court. We make sure that our judges have full dockets. All of the pleadings are within there. We have been scanning all of our files since 2014, so we have a backup right here on site. And again, we're keeping those files on site so we eliminate the possibility of them being lost.
Thank you all. Thank you. The following question, we will allow for 2-minute answers. The question is, what can the Clerk of Court's office do to expedite the needed expungement process? We begin with, we're going to start from the end and go forward. So we'll start with Mr. Austin Badon.
Okay. You know, I ran into a gentleman just the other day who is a longtime businessman here in New Orleans. He has a multi-million-dollar seafood business. He had a silly charge 51 years ago, nonviolent, and he's seeking expungement of that so he could be able to, you know, go out hunting and be able to protect his family and to get that silly charge off his record. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm going to have someone on staff who is going to be tech specific to reach out to people who are in the same situation and educate the public. Reach out to the public and allow them to know that this service is rendered here at Criminal District Court. And that person will go out and they're going to find people and they're going to educate them and bring them in. And we're going to work towards getting them an expungement in an expedited manner as well as an affordable manner. And you do that through education and you do that through grant writing to be able to offset that. There are numerous criminal justice reform measures that are out there and organizations that want to give money. They want to support a clerk that has the like mind that I have, that people who have nonviolent offenses should have an opportunity to have a clean slate to go on without having that scarlet letter upon them. So I will make you my promise that that is a major part of my platform immediately when I go into that office, to work with people on expungements, but you got to educate the public that it is there for them. And that's something that I've done here at First City Court, to let people know the services that we have. You know, I want to build on what Clerk Morrell has been doing, but in order to do that, you have to, you know, utilize the media. You have to utilize your services and your experience and the context that you have. I'm the only candidate, as you see, from television, radio, and media that has any media contact.
Thank you. Dr. Patricia Boyd.
Yes, so it's very, very important, as Mr. Badon said, that education, because we have so many people out there. I work with the prison ministry with Sheriff Guzman, and we come across so many people that need this service. I also have a contract that I'm working with the Department of Justice for ex-offenders. And you'll be surprised that these people don't know the process for getting their records expunged. I also work with, during the pandemic, I worked with over 200 businesses, and 25% of them were ex-offenders. And I was able to help them to get all of their papers in order to make sure that they qualified for the different funding that was coming out to keep their businesses in operation. So one of the first things you have to do in expungement is appoint somebody, a particular person that's going to be responsible for expungements, to make sure that they understand what expungements are and understand the importance. And again, a lot of people out there, especially ex-offenders, they don't know their rights. They don't know that they are qualified for expungements. Or even talking to some of them just recently that may or may not be on probation, doesn't even know that they have the right to vote. So we have to educate, and we have to train. So in expungement is no difference. We have to put somebody there that understands expungements, and we have to educate the public on how to get their records expunged and how it can benefit them in their life.
Thank you. Mr. Darren Lombard.
I think the main problem is most people don't understand exactly what is the problem with the expungement process. Number one, it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people. The attorneys charge upwards of $1,000 to $1,500 to do that. Then you have to go through the clerk's office, which has fees every step along the way. Every agency has a fee that they assess, which ties down a lot of people just from being able to afford it, much less to actually go through the process. Now, when you go through the process, there's been issues with service not being perfected to the proper entities that are involved. I'm going to talk to all of the stakeholders involved, which is the DA's office, the judges, the deputies, anybody who's involved, the state police. I'm gonna talk to all of them about what can be done to expedite it and to make it cheaper and more affordable. Now, the other issue is you could tie this into the relationships with the judges. They have to get that documentation as soon as possible. So in order to make that expedite that process, if you have the proper CMS system involved, they don't have to wait for an old file to come from storage a month or two later. They can pull it up right then. So that takes that time, that delay out of it completely. So I think, you know, those steps at making it cheaper, making it affordable, and making sure that the CMS system is properly working, so everybody involved, including the DA's office and the judges, can get the documentation they need and the applications they need and paperwork from the person that's applying for it in a timely manner.
Thank you. Thank you. For the following question, we will allow for 2 minutes. So this allows you to, we're at the box, so you can be in the box or outside the box. But the question is, what is your interpretation of restorative justice?
My God.
All right. All right. What is your interpretation of restorative justice? Can we begin with Dr. Patricia Boyd?
Well, restore, first of all, to restore something, you know, we have to bring it back to where it was. And we know there's been so many injustices in our world. So to restore justice is a major, 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 major thing that must be done. To be really honest with you, we have to, first of all, build our communities back. That's where it's going to start at. Once we begin to build our communities, and that's been my heartbeat, that's been my passion, that we have to begin right at home to restore justice first within our own community. We are our biggest enemy when it comes to justice. So we have to begin there. We have to put programs out there for especially our young people. Today, they have no hope. If you look out there in the world, they're doing things that we probably would have never done or even thought of doing. But because there's nothing for them, we have to bring programs back into our communities that can capture our young people to make them know that they are important and that they do have a reason to live. Today, they don't even believe they have a reason to live. If you ask them, they don't know what it is. They don't know what their reason to live. So that's why they can commit the crime. They can do all of the things that they're doing with just no remorse or anything. So we have to restore, first of all, our communities. And once we begin to restore our communities, then we can talk about the overall restorative justice.
Okay. Can we please hear from Mr. Darren Lombard?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, sir. What is your interpretation of restorative justice?
Well, I'd like to start by saying that, especially in this time, that restorative justice will start when you actually have the opportunity to have free and fair elections. Again, if you don't start there, we can't elect the judges we like, the state legislators we like, and so on. So the state legislators, the senators and representatives are the ones that write the laws. So if we can't ensure that we have a free and fair election process, everything else behind that breaks down, number one. And again, I'm the only one that has the experience to make sure that what's happening continues and improves moving forward. That's why I am appointed by Governor John Bell Edwards to the Board of Election Supervisors. I've been involved in elections for 15 years. So I understand the importance and how it has a cascading effect across social justice. Now, the other aspect of that is when you have someone who is incarcerated and you want to get them back into society as fast as possible, those who are eligible for it. So having the right technology available so we can monitor where people are. Like if you have a guy who's been locked up in municipal court for a minor offense that also has a charge in criminal court, if the judge doesn't see him, they issue another warrant. Now, could you imagine that guy keeping his job after he's been arrested twice? So judges right now can't tell if they're in municipal court or they're in federal court or they're in any other area of the system. So by implementing the correct, fair case management system, judges will be able to make fair determinations of where people are, so they can at least on a basic level know where people are, so they won't be issuing warrants.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Austin Badon.
Kimberly, you know what restorative justice means to me? It means that everyone, regardless of whether you can pay for it or if you can't pay for it, you are deserving of justice. There are countless people in local jails and in state penitentiaries. Many of them are people of color who have been wrongly charged, wrongly convicted, and they deserve an opportunity to have their cases reheard. That's why I'm very grateful that we now have a 10-2 jury law that is on the books. And those people deserve right and access to their cases for their lawyers and for themselves, so that they can bring their cases back up and have access to another hearing, and that case and that hearing is provided for them in a timely manner and it is affordable. And so another aspect to restorative justice is when people are found to be unjustly charged, that they have financial restitution because they have had their lives taken away from them, been taken away from their families. And we need to have strong social services that can help those people acclimate back into society. So to answer your question, restorative justice is about people and making sure that they have access to fair and just hearings. And for those who are coming back, they have financial restitution as well as strong programs that will help them with employment and counseling to get back into society.
Well, thank you all for all the work that you all do in your respective fields. You all answered the questions beautifully. And so we would like to thank you tonight. We're going to turn this over. That's the conclusion of all of our questions to Ms. Dawn Hebert. Thank you.
Okay, like Kimberly said, we want to thank you all for participating. And we want to remind everybody listening to this forum that Election Day is on October 9th. But early voting starts on September 25th to October 2nd. So good luck to all of you and thank you for participating.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thank you.
Night.
Good night.
Man, you
Iron
good,
sharpens
man.
iron.
You good.
Okay, we still recording. Hold on one second. Let me stop streaming and record. And let me stop streaming.
Okay.